there's one certainty with New Zealand farming, it's that it never stands still. It's always looking to see how it can do better. It's always looking ahead, it's always improving, continually improving. What if we did this instead of that? Can we do it better? What do you reckon? It's an ingrained part of every farmer, this need to question, to tinker, to try things out, to not be wed to tradition or habit. And it's no less part of us. We started over 100 years ago, improving the genetics of the national dairy herd. And today, we've taken it further. Just as farmers are doing things and able to do things that they might have never imagined 10, 20 years ago, so are we. We're using information, we're using technology, and we're making things that make a difference, that improve farmers' processes, improve their performance, and improve their profitability. Because that's what we're about. Improvement. It's in our nature. It's in our name.
Hello and welcome to our third webinar introducing North Shropshire College as LIC's new monitor farm. If you have missed any of our prior webinars, please go onto our Facebook page or our website and follow the links to our YouTube account where you'll be able to look at our prior webinars. After this webinar, it will be uploaded onto the YouTube account within 24 hours. So if you've missed anything or want to review anything, please go back and have a look there. I'm Sean Chubb. I'll be facilitating this evening, and I'm a pasture profit consultant in the Midlands and Wales. And I've been working with Tom from North Shropshire College on this monitor farm process. I'll now pass you over to Tom.
Hiya, I'm Tom. I'm the manager at Walford Farm. Been working closely with Sean, but I'll pass you over to Sarah now from LIC.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm just going to be monitoring the questions that come in tonight and putting them forward to the panel. Back to Sean.
Thanks, Sarah. We also have Mark Ryder on the call tonight, but he won't be saying anything unless we need to cover off any sort of long-term strategy sort of stuff to do with LIC. So the focus for today's webinar is around grazing and how we're moving high-input Holstein cows to grass. So the agenda for the night is to go to talk a little bit about the importance of measuring, then turning out the cows. So how did we do that? Grazing of the heifers, the importance of cow size when it comes to grazing, and then we'll finish off this evening with looking at the targets that we've set for the year. Some of these conversations will broadly touch on the mating side of things. That's going to be our next webinar next week. So if there are any questions around mating, we will acknowledge them, but we will defer them until next week, as we don't want to be covering off the same sort of stuff twice. So yeah, we'll move on and start talking about the importance of measuring. Now, I do apologise to anyone who is a seasoned at measuring grass and recording it and grazing of cows, but through the monitoring farm process, what we wanted to do is create a blueprint for people who are wanting to do a similar thing by moving from, say, a high input system into grass. So this is an important part of allowing them to understand the process. So obviously, being able to record and monitor grass growth it gives us the ability to project forward and manage the grass properly so we keep good quality grass in front of us. And this is just as important for, or probably even more important for the farm like Walford Farm through the process that we're going through. So if we go back to the slide with the grass on it, if we know that we're sending cows into covers of 3,200 and we just assume that they're going to graze down to 1,500, but in reality they only graze down to 1,900, there is actually a 400 kg of dry matter difference between what we assume we're grazing to actually what the cows are actually getting. And this will impact on production, live weight, and overall performance of the cows going forward. So it's important that we actually know all this, so therefore we can plan and implement things to ensure that the cows stay in the condition that we need them to do to be as profitable as they are. So moving on from here, Tom, are you able to tell everyone or give everyone a bit of a process of what you do around how you measure the grass on the farm?
So we do weekly grass measuring with a rise and play meter. We then record all the data on TagriNet. We then review the data and make decisions based on the week by week basis in terms of our next grazing decisions and where we're going to graze, who's going to graze what.
Yeah, very good. And have you had experience of measuring grass previously?
To be fair, I've been probably doing it for the last 9 years of my career, working with grass-based systems. So, yeah.
All right. So, is there any advice you'd give people who are just starting out plate metering and measuring grass?
Keep at it. Make sure you do it weekly. Make sure you review decisions. It's the most vital piece of kit on the farm for us. It'll be the most vital piece of kit for anyone else who's trying to go down this route as well.
Yeah. It's I would agree with that. So when we started planning for turning out of the cows, I wanted you to go out and actually measure the residuals at the end of each break to ensure that the cows were getting the right amount of intake for the first couple of weeks anyway. Did you actually do this?
Not every break, mainly because on the experience, I could see the cows were grazing well enough, and then obviously at the start, the conditions weren't favourable as well. So I was pretty understanding where I was with the cows. But we do probably 2-3 times a week we will check just to make sure that they are. But we're pretty confident that they are doing what we want them to do.
Yeah, and so when you said that you checked a couple times a week. If you noticed that the cows were leaving more grass behind than you expected, what would you do from there?
Obviously slow them up, keep them in the paddock longer. Obviously on that certain paddock, you're not going to be able to reset that on the day, depending on what cover it is. But obviously you start to review decisions, review what intakes, your allocation for the cows and stuff like
that. Yeah, perfect. So in the last webinar, you spoke about you managed to turn the low producing cows out in January. This is a little bit earlier than what the traditional or most of the traditional block calving grass-based farmers would do. So why did you turn out so early?
Basically because we had an opening cover of 2.6, like 50, 2.6, something like that, 2.6, 2.1 or something. Basically, if we hadn't turned out, we'd have never got round the farm in time or hit our targets where we wanted to be on Magic Day. And basically, we'd have never had the quality of grass we've got now in front of these cows.
And so did you manage to achieve all the targets of, planting a full round before Magic Day and the desired farm cover of about 1,800, 1,900 at Magic Day?
Yeah, we got to 1885 by Magic Day. And we just about got around. I think we were at 95%, but we got there.
Yep. I know, very good. So you obviously done a good job and saw the need to go early and you went there. So no, well done. I think that's a good starting point on the importance of measuring and what can be done from there. Is there any questions at this stage, Sarah?
Yes, we've got a question from someone saying that they haven't got a plate meter. Where can they get them from?
LIC does sell them. We have a couple of different varieties of them. I don't know the prices of them, sorry, but we've got the lower end scale, which it's just got a counter on it, and you got to do all the mathematics yourself, all the way through to the top end, which we'll be able to take all the data back and put it onto Google Maps for you, so you'll be able to see the path you walked and each plonk, how much grass was throughout. So it gives you more understanding of where the grass is within the paddock.
Right, we've got another question here. I think, Tom, last time you mentioned about using lime. and the questioner would like to know what action is being taken on poorer quality land to bring it into the grazing rotation.
So we are doing work, obviously, with reseeding policies. We are identifying poorer land that needs work. So we've been putting fodder beet in on some of it. We have reseeded other parts of it already, as we've got a lower stocking rate and there's quite a good opportunity to do it. And yeah, we're also going to look at doing a bit of swarm lifting as well in the summer.
Right, and then another question here on, is there a level of residual that makes it not worthwhile grazing cows?
I think if you can't get near 2,000, I think, yeah, you're not, it's not worthwhile because one, you're going to lose your quality. Two, you're going to have to do some of that paddock afterwards. And if you lose your quality, you lose your milk. Simple as that.
Yeah, I'll just add to that as well. You might be struggling to get enough energy from the grass to make it worthwhile, the cows walking out to the paddock and the time spent there. So yeah, you really do need to be on the south side of 2,000 cover.
Okay, Sean, I think it's back to you now.
All right, thank you. So yeah, moving on to how we actually implemented the cows moving out to grass. So when we first started planning for the cows to turn out, we talked about turning the low producing cows out, and I wanted them to go into covers of 2,600 and start there, start moving around. And we also looked at what the cows, or these low producing cows, have been fed inside. And what transpired was when they headed out, they were supposed to get 6 kgs of dry matter of grass. So therefore, we needed to take 6 kgs off their allocation inside. So when they went out, the feed troughs needed to be empty. They needed to be an edge of appetite, force the cows to go out and actually graze. So before we kick off with how the cows actually went on that, Tom, can you just tell us exactly what was considered a low producing cow?
Yeah, basically, low producing cow was anything with 30 litres and below and around 130, 140 days of milk.
Yeah, I know, thank you. And how well did you stick to the grazing plan?
Pretty well. Obviously, there was just 2 storms that hit the UK this year. We weathered the first one, not the second one, very well. We had to come in for a couple of days, but yeah, we stuck to it pretty well. We were pretty robust with it, and yeah, the girls are repaying their faith in us now.
Yeah, and because obviously I got a bit more of an inside knowledge here. I do know that you did turn the cows into some covers of 3-6 fairly early on.
Yeah.
How much time between initial turnout to going into these covers?
Straight away. These covers needed taken off straight away, obviously, to then get them regrowing ready for the spring. Otherwise, we was going to lose out on that. And again, the high covers, poor quality.
Yeah. And what did you notice with residuals as you went through the actual initial training period?
They're not what they are now. They weren't as good as they are now. So they're around the 1,700, 1,800 mark. But all things considering, it was wet. It's the first time the cows had gone out. And yeah, to be fair to them, I think they did a bloody good job. You couldn't really ask for too much more than what they were doing.
Yeah. And when you actually turned them out, what was the actual behaviour of the cows? In terms of their behaviour, physical, and milk production. How did that all impact with turning them out?
The first 3/4 of an hour of turnout, they were a bit giddy, excited. They do a bit of running around. Wasn't your typical grazing cow behaviour. It was just like they escaped off the yard type behaviour. And then, after about 3/4 of an hour, they got their heads down. They started to graze. They started to figure things out. They did loiter a little bit around gateways. Milk production wise, lost about 3 litres at the start. It did come back a little bit. I think we lost about 2 in the end, but yeah, we did lose a little bit for the start. We obviously did check them, but I think it's been worthwhile in the end.
Yeah, And so, given the size of the paddocks, you want to implement 24-hour grazing.
Yeah.
So, how does this system of 24-hour grazing help to, or initially, what was our plan to help to bring in the high producing cows?
Well, originally we was going to graze the lows in the evening on the first of the graze the lows and the high soil in the evening on the 24-hour breaks. They all had a fresh allocation of grass and an equal allocation. The plan was then to keep the highs in the day and give them their buffer feed, and then let the lows go out and clean the paddock up and hit the residuals.
And so that was the original plan. So what was the actual plan that has transpired?
Basically, the lows stayed out. The lows were grazing out in the day for roughly 3-4 weeks. They then moved to nighttime grazing as well, but being buffer fed both ends of milking. Then the weather started to come a bit better. Grass growth was starting to improve, so it was right. We need to turn the highs out, so we actually decided to turn them out in the day, start reducing our feed costs, our bedding costs, and then it materialised. Yeah, let's put them together, and we've now grazed them all in one mob. They're out 24 hours a day, both highs and low yielders. They graze on a 24-hour breaks again, so they get a 24-hour allocation at night, and then they're getting their buffer feed with their concentrated minute in the shed. But hopefully that'll all change in the next couple of days or so when the parlour feeders are finally installed.
Yeah. And so with the highs out 24 hours a day, or both groups of cows out 24 hours a day, has there been any change in residuals?
I thought it was to do with the highs, but yeah, the residuals have got a hell of a lot better. We are consistently hitting 1,500 or very, very close to, sometimes a little bit below. But yeah, we are grazing to what would be the desired residual of a crossbred cow or a typical grazing cow.
Yeah. And what's been your most challenging part with trying to get these Holsteins out and grazing?
The weather, and I would say perception, people's views on those cows never graze, they won't graze type thing, and just trying to change that opinion, really.
Yeah. And so as we venture further into the season, what do you see as being the next challenge that you're probably going to come across?
I think our next challenge is going to be stocking rates, because demand's naturally going to drop as we've got a fair proportion of herd going to on-block calving now, and we're at a low stocking rate anyway. So I think retaining that quality and going forward, I think that's going to be key. Managing these paddocks and making sure they're grazing out really well. But then obviously looking forward to the autumn, I think we've got, these cows will be calving in the autumn, and we're going to try and get them to graze a little bit as well. So I think that's going to bring on its challenges.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, and allocation is going to be key through that. So what would be your advice you'd give someone who's looking to undertake a similar venture that you are currently doing at the moment?
Be realistic in the targets. Be realistic what the cows can achieve. They might surprise you like cows have, but they're capable. They're more than capable. You will lose a little bit of milk, but the benefits of that milk loss compared to the cost of production is totally outweighing it.
Yeah, I know. Very good. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Is there any more questions coming through at the moment, Sarah?
Yes, I've got a couple here. How was the buffer feed measured to ensure there wasn't any allocation, Tom?
So basically, we obviously sample what our dry matter and our silage. And obviously, we're using a feeder wagon, so we calculate. We work back on what grass we're offering the cows, and then also a bit at the start, a certain extent of what concentrate cows needed to actually still produce a decent volume of milk, and then made the difference up with the silage. Obviously, working off our silage analysis with our dry matters.
Okay. And then someone's asking what else is going to be fed with the fodder beet once the cows are housed.
So yeah, they'll be on a parlour. There'll be a parlour nut. There'll be maize, grass silage, and maybe a little bit of blend carried through the ration as well. So like a partial TMR. But
And when are you thinking about housing the cows?
as late as possible. It depends on the weather. It depends on the season. It's a lot of things. I'm not going to be dictated to by a certain day. I'll let the season dictate when the cows should come in, not traditional values, if you like.
If it was a perfect year?
It's a perfect year, November, but you never know.
No, you don't. Now, not surprisingly, I've got a couple of questions about Holsteins and teaching them to graze. Someone's asking, what are the tricks that you've used to get them to graze successfully?
I haven't. I treat them like I treated any grazing cow. They've just shocked us and been able to do it, really. It's been a very pleasant surprise and made my life a lot easier.
What were you expecting?
Poor residuals, like 1800s. So I expected to be able to put heifers in behind them or try to turn them into lower covers to get them to graze and things like that. But now it's not been the case. Not been the case at all.
Well, I think that's really good news. Now, did any of the Holsteins there lose body condition when they went out?
No. At their first turnout, I wouldn't say they put condition on, but they definitely maintained their condition in the conditions they were working under. As of now, the cows, I'd say, are putting condition on. They're getting fed a high quality forage, higher quality than anything we got in our clamps that we could have offered them. And it's proving worthwhile. Lameness has dropped, which is another indication. I think body conditions improved as well. We're down by about 15% lameness cases in the herd.
Quite a nice saving there then. And one final one. Some milk contracts stipulate that cows should graze. And if someone doesn't want to go down a full grazing system, how are they going to get these North American Holsteins to graze?
I think if you're going to do it, you got to do it properly. There's no point just throwing them in a field and losing your grass quality. If you lose your quality, you lose your milk. It's as simple as that. I think that's a lot of the myth around cows with high yielding cows grazing, that it's the cow can't graze, or perhaps sometimes it's actually you've lost your cows. It's not your cows can't graze. Yeah, you just need to be able to manage that grass differently, or work with the cow and work with that type of cow and be able to get her to graze and keep the quality of grass in front of her.
And do you think it helps that you've got heifers grazing?
It does, but we're not doing leader follower. So we're not. The heifers aren't assisting with the cows in any shape or form. It's the cows are working on their own.
Great. Okay.
So just going back to the question around the milk contracts that stipulate people to go out grazing. Just adding on to what Tom was saying, if it all comes down to allocation. If you don't allocate right, it's not going to work properly. So no matter what system you're running, if you're trying to graze cows, you need to get one, the allocation of grass right, and two, the allocation of buffer right. If you're going in with too much buffer because you're worried about milk production dropping, you're not going to get the grazing of the grass and you're going to lose quality. So yeah, that's where Tom's done really well this year with turning out the cows, is that, by working backwards from what grass we want them to eat, he's then been able to allocate the right amount of buffer to ensure that they do actually eat all the grass. So we're actually not losing anything. And yeah, that's the key there.
Okay. Well, I think back to you for the next section, Sean.
All right. Thank you. We'll move on to grazing of the heifers. So obviously the ability of heifers to graze well will have a good impact when they actually come into the herd. They'll be able to get a good intake of grass to stay in hopefully stay in a positive energy balance. So therefore, they'll be able to get in calf and go through and have increase the longevity of the herd. So, Tom, what are you doing with the heifers to help train them to graze efficiently?
The baby calves weaned off around the 8-week mark. We don't tend to graze them as intensively, just to let them get used to eating grass, and also to help maintain their growth rates without giving them too much stress. Obviously, we've just been weaned, then turned out, gone from a nice shed, and then turned out to field, out to pasture. So try to limit the amount of changes on them as well, limit the stress factor. But as they get older and they move through the groups, obviously the next group from there, they are strip grazed and allocated grass, just like the cows would be.
Yeah. And so how have the older animals that haven't been grazing before, the pulling heifers from last year, how have they taken to grazing?
Just as well as the cows. Do an absolutely fantastic job. Like I said, we're not having to use the heifers to clean up behind the cows, or we're not asking to use the cows to clean up behind the heifers or anything like that. Each mob of animals is doing the desired job, really.
Yeah. I know, very good. And what is the plan for the grazing season of the calves or heifers for this year?
So I would suggest that all the heifers are out now will stay out. They will make their way through the autumn time. They'll probably be key to us helping managing autumn covers and shutting the farm up, ready for the next spring. And also then they will move on to an outwintering system to be reared on the low cost system.
Yeah, and so what is the outwintering system that you're going to use, and are you going to use it going forward?
So basically, this time we're going to use stubble turnips and size bales. I know a lot of people use fodder beet or kale. Merely the reason behind stubble turnips is they're a lower yielding crop, and because we've got a low stocking rate, it enables me to use up more acreage, which means I can utilise the ground a lot better this year than what perhaps we'll do in the future. Not so sure whether it's going to be a long-term fix. No, there's potentially could be going forward. I don't know. Whether we do smaller acreage and a high yielding crop, I don't know. But yeah, no, I think certainly it's a one-off this year. But yeah, no, I do.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's good. So yeah, will you be using agri nets with the heifers side of grazing as well?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, obviously they're on the grazing platform, so we allocate their intakes as well on the net. Treated just like the cows, no different. And then going forward, obviously, we tend to have a grazing platform purely for young stock or for rearing stock, shall I say, where we will, again, it'll be managed through AgriNet on a separate block, but we will, it'll be done just exactly the same as the cows. Expect to do the same job.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Any questions come through, Sarah?
Yes, we've got one here. Long term, is there going to be heifers on the milking platform? And if no, how will this alter the management of them?
No, there won't. And it won't alter the management too much. I would have thought, if anything, we may look to do a bit more size off a heifer block if they're struggling, but we'll just manage it the same as what we manage cows, what we manage any grazing platform.
Okay. That's the only one at the moment, Sean.
All right, no, thank you. So yeah, we'll move on to the fourth section, which is looking at the size of the cow and the grazing. So the reason why I brought this up is because no matter the size of the cow, the most amount of grass a cow can take in on any day is 18 kgs of dry matter. And got a photo that should be coming up shortly, and that actually shows what 18 kgs of dry matter of grass looks like. So yeah, here it is here. So this is 18 kgs of grass at 18% dry matter. So that is a fair volume of grass that a cow needs to get through. So no matter if she's 800 kgs or 500 kgs, that's the amount of grass she can eat because of processing time and amount of bites that she can take in a day. So it actually limits the amount of energy that a cow can get into her. So when we take that into account, it actually has a flow-on effect onto production once we start, subtracting off energy needs for maintenance, walking, and etc. So if we look at 18 kgs of dry matter at 12 ME, that gives us a total intake of energy of 116 megajoules. So if we look at these two different types of cows here, we've got a 700 kg cow and a 550 kg cow. So everything's pretty much exactly the same in terms of the walking distance, energy requirements there. We're not saying there's going to be any weight gain or weight loss, so there's no energy requirement there or energy sort of gain back. And production, we're saying that they're going to be producing the same fat and protein. So once we work all the way through, we can actually work out how much milk each cow can produce at the end of all the stuff being subtracted off. So being a bigger cow, she's the 700 kg cow has a higher maintenance requirement. So that actually works out to be 15 megajoules of energy more. And when we get down to the milk production level, it's almost almost 3 liters worth of production that she's losing just by having that bigger frame. So what we really want to do is maximize the cow's size to ensure that we can drive forward and push as much feed or energy into milk production and limit how much is going into maintenance. So to get this right, we need to ensure that we have the right stocking rate and have the right weight of cow. Therefore, we can get the most production from the milk as possible. But obviously, being an autumn block calving farm, there's going to be a fair portion of cows inside through their peak production period as well. So we need to be mindful of that. So we don't want to go too small, but we also don't want to be too big. Is there any questions on that, Sarah?
No, just one about how the high cows are being fed and what their production is as they're out 24 hours a day.
They're producing around 32 litres at the minute, the high group alone. They're being fed a flat rate at this present moment in time just until the feeders are installed. So the whole herd is actually on about 6 kilos of concentrate. No, it's not the right thing to do, but it's just for a management tool for a short period of time, which we've done probably the last 5 days because we needed to reduce the silage or completely take the silage out as grass growth was starting to rocket. So it was that was a tool to manage the platform. But yeah, no, they've been treated just like the low yielders, all been fed in the morning. They concentrate and then they graze for the rest of the day, really.
I think last week you were telling us that the parlour feeders were going in. Have you been having some issues getting them in?
Yeah, just a few. Typical contractor issues, but yeah, they'll be up and running by tomorrow night, I've been promised.
Right, that's good news, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right, Sean, back to you.
I think there's one more question there, Sarah.
Sorry, let me just get that one up. Yes, 18 kilograms of dry matter grass is a lot. How does the weather affect this, for example, when it's raining?
Yeah, so like the pile of grass that was there was at 18% dry matter. So the dry matter percentage of grass will fluctuate. And as it goes lower, therefore there's actually, to get the 18 kgs of dry matter into a cow, there's going to be a lot more wet weight that the cow needs to eat. So it's going to actually make it harder for a cow to get that total 18 kgs into her. So yeah, weather does have a big impact on it. And having regular tests of your grass does actually help you do this. or even using the likes of Forage for Knowledge that AHDB puts out, and I think there's Grass Check as well. I think it's called that they take regional data points and then they put it out there, so you can assess by not actually getting your grass tested, but you can look at what your region's doing just to give you a bit of an understanding.
Okay, great. Back to you, Sean, I think.
Yep, I know. Thank you. We'll move on to the last session of the night, and that is around the targets that we set. So at the beginning of the grazing period, I gave Tom a couple of targets. One was that I wanted the cows to be achieving a residual of less than 1,600 kgs of dry matter by the end of the season. So this is probably going to be a bit more tricky as we come into the calving period, but that was the first target I set. Also wanted at least 8 months of grazing by the cows, and with cows turning out in January, we're fairly well on the way to that. And the other one was just getting relatively good utilization within the paddocks. And so I wanted that to be as close to 80% as possible. And Tom came up with a few of his own targets that he wanted to achieve. So I'll pass it over to him to explain what he wanted to achieve.
Yeah, so basically, I wanted to see residuals, but I set my standards a little bit higher. I went for 1,500, I had a bit more faith. I think my main target was really, we wanted to at least be able to grow this year between 8 and 10 tonne growing grass and utilise 80% like Sean agreed, but going forward we want to be going towards more the 14 tonne to 15 tonne and keep pushing that as much as we can. And then the more we push it, the more milk from forage we're going to achieve and the lower our costs are going to be as well.
Where did you get how did you come up with the figure of 14 tonnes of grass growth, Tom?
I worked in the area before. I've been around this area for roughly the last 4 years, so got a bit of faith in the fact I think it can be done. I think looking at how we didn't graze properly last year, but looking at how much grass was actually growing on the farm with very little fertiliser application, left me with a belief that this ground will grow grass if it's managed properly. So yeah.
No, very good. And well, the fact that you had that the farm's within an MVZ zone, is that going to make things harder for you to achieve the 14 tonnes of dry matter?
I hope not. Basically, but I'm going to be a bit more tactical with our fertiliser applications, our slurry applications. Also have a keen eye on stocking rate and things like that. But yeah, I don't think it being an issue. I think we can manage it.
No, very good. Are there any final questions there, Sarah?
Yes, I've got one going back to grazing. What difference has moving to paddocks made in terms of improving grass utilisation?
Massive. We're able to allocate small areas to the cows instead of trying to graze a whole field, which means the cows can move over these paddocks within the 36-hour time frame, which then helps with regrowth and then keeps the quality better, keeps it more palatable, keeps the whole job a lot more easy and a lot more simple, really.
Okay. And somebody's come back on last week. I think you were talking about the cow manager system that you're using. And someone's asking, does that measure the amount of grass being eaten by each cow? And if not, how are you staying on top of that and knowing they're all getting the right amount of forage?
It doesn't measure how much they've eaten. It measures how much time they've spent eating, so it works on a percentage of the day, and then it all obviously does feed in and just says, like saying ruminations, how much time spent ruminating. I would say it's improved. The rumination has definitely improved since cows have turned out. Feeding has stayed stable compared to when the cows were in as well. So it's been very easy to monitor and manage. It's been very interesting as well.
Right. I think that's it from my side.
All right, thank you, Sarah. So that's all the topics covered off for today. We'll be back next week with looking at the breeding side and where that's heading to. So I'd just like to thank everyone for coming on and joining us this evening. We look forward to having you next week. And if you've missed anything or got any comments, please do on our Facebook page or send through emails. And when you do get the sheet that has the targets for us, you can supply to us, please do send them through to us. Obviously we do have a bit of a differing point of view from me and Tom of where we would set targets. So it'd be good to see where other farmers think that we should be setting the targets as well. We'll leave it there, and thank you, and we'll see you next week.
If there's one certainty with New Zealand farming, it's that it never stands still. It's always looking to see how it can do better. It's always looking ahead, it's always improving, continually improving. What if we did this instead of that? Can we do it better? What do you reckon? It's an ingrained part of every farmer, this need to question, to tinker, to try things out, to not be wed to tradition or habit. And it's no less part of us. We started over 100 years ago, improving the genetics of the national dairy herd. And today, we've taken it further. Just as farmers are doing things and able to do things that they might have never imagined 10, 20 years ago, so are we. We're using information, we're using technology, and we're making things that make a difference, that improve farmers' processes, improve their performance, and improve their profitability. Because that's what we're about. Improvement. It's in our nature. It's in our name.